Hello, teacher. Good evening. My name is Victor Manuel Pedraza Contreras. I'm working with the analysis of the tense and aspect. This activity was at the beginning more specific, and this file was just like heavier than this. But now it is the time, and I cannot upload it. I have this internet connection since the last week. I don't know what is happening, but my provider said that I cannot have more internet right now because of certain rules that the IFETEL dictates them. So I'm going to start. I hope I could do this activity. Well, I'm going to work with the present tenses. In this case, we're going to work with present simple. In this time, we're going to work with regular habits or routines. In this case, every activity that we do on Mondays or at weekends, it is a habit that we have, for example, or a scholar schedule that we have in our university or classes. Also, the things that we like, for example, our hobbies or something like that. And these are represented in present simple. Okay. Also, we have a lot of adverbs and time expressions in present simple that could tell us when do we use the present simple tense. I would like to explain that we also have this present simple with the third person of the singular, or when a singular noun we have to change the verbs. In the case that the verbs are watch or kiss or fixed, they must end in es because of a rule that it's implied in the present simple talking about the third person of the singular. And it is also with this, for example, study, that we have a consonant before the y, we have to omit the y and we have to add the ies ending. For the rest of the verbs, we have to only add s, no, not with the side that ends in e. We have to add yes at the end, no matter what, no matter if we have a vowel at the end. Okay. And then present simple is also used for future time in order to have these scheduled activities. For example, we know what activity we have the next Monday because it is scheduled in a calendar. Okay. So then we have the present continuous. In this time, the present continuous represent activities that are at the moment and that are in progress right now at the moment of speaking. We also we have expressions like now, at the moment, to describe or to declare continuous action. It is also called the present progressive, and it's also used for fixed plans for the near future. In this case, it's a near future. It's something. It is an arrangement that we have already done. The auxiliary that we have here in the present continuous is the verb to be, is, are, and an ing verb. Okay. Remember the verbs like swim that we have consonant, vowel, consonant. We have to double the final consonant and then add the ing. We have swim and we have stop. And for the interrogative sentences, we have to start with the auxiliary, then the subject, and then ing verb in the case that we have yes, no questions. Okay. So every time that we have evidence that an activity is in progress, it is because we have, for example, listen, watch out, look. I almost forget that in present simple we have the verb do, and it's formed for the third person of the singular das. It is also used in the interrogative and negative sentences. And we have to place the auxiliary at the beginning in the interrogative sentences, depending on the subject. Okay. For the present perfect simple, we have activities that started at the time, in the past, and its effects or consequences are still representative in the present. Okay. We can also use present perfect for completed actions that started in the past and continues in the present, and it expresses that the action is permanent. Okay. We have already signal words, in this case already, yet and just, as them are the more representative in order to use them already, and the positive sentences, yet and yet in the negative sentences, just in the positive sentences. And we also have for and since. For it's a period of time, and since is a point in time, a specific time when the activity started. Okay. We also use it for action done on specified points in the past, like the experience. Okay. For the present perfect, we have to use the verb have. In the case that we have to use has in the positive, negative, interrogative sentences, plus past participle verb. Remember that here we have to know all the past participle forms of the verbs, because we sometimes make the mistake to use the past form. Okay, so at the beginning, as the other two sentences, we have to add the auxiliary at the beginning, then the subject, and then the past participle verb, including one of the single words that we have here. For the present perfect continuous, we have also a progressive action, but specified in a time in the past. We also have this expressed that action is temporary. Okay, and then we have the single word. Sometimes it says how long, because we want to specify what the time it took for the action that was in progress. Okay. For the present perfect continuous, we have the auxiliary have or has, and then been, and followed by an ing form. Okay, to be just clear, all the continuous forms are going to use the ing forms of the verbs. The perfect tenses are going to use the past participle verbs, and the present simple in this case, as I have already explained you, follow certain rules. Okay. Then for the past tenses, we have also the simple, the continuous, the perfect, and the perfect continuous tenses. In the past simple tense, I just emphasize the regular and irregular verbs that we have in the positive sentences. The irregular verbs are just featured because the ed ending that and the verbs have. In the case that we have the ed ending, is because we also have a different pronunciation. We can pronounce the ed as t or d or id sound, and it is because they are completely different. Okay, the past simple tense is used to mention actions that happen a definite time in the past and they have already finished. Okay, so it is also used the past simple to make it to put some or to describe activities that were just in order. Okay, for the past continuous, we have the auxiliary, the verb to be in past, the both conjugations that are was and were, and an ing verb. And this is because we want to mention an activity that was in progress at a specific time in the past. When we mix the past simple and the past continuous, we can use when or while. When mention an activity that interrupts another action that was in progress, and when we use while, it's because we want to mention both actions that were in progress at a specific time in the past. And then we have just the past perfect. The past perfect mentions actions that happened before another actions in the past. In this case that we have past simple, we want to mention an activity that happened before this action mentioned in past simple, we have to use the past perfect. Past perfect in this case have has, the auxiliaries for the present perfect and change for the past form of have, that is had, and then a past participle verb. Okay, so all the mixtures that we could have here, past perfect mentions the first activity that happened in the past. And then the past perfect continuous, it's also used to mention an action continuing over a period of a specific time in the past. Okay, we have an example. He had been working as a doctor for 25 years before he retired last year. In this case, the past perfect continuous mentioned an activity that is in progress, that the time is specified because of the for that we have there. In this case, we have the auxiliary had, it must be followed by been and then an ing verb. Remember that these auxiliaries goes with Peter or Pete or a plural noun or also I in this case. And then for the future tense, we are going to use will or want. In this case, we know that as the future simple. Will or want are used for predictions in the positive and negative sentences, and the verb form that we use here is the infinitive form. Okay. Another use is the spontaneous decision. We have a request and the promises. I promise I'll tell. I promise I'll tell him the truth. In these cases, promises is because we are just taking the decision at that time, okay? And request is when we offer our help. Will in the positive sentences, want in the negative sentences, and it's the same as the other tenses. The auxiliaries go at the beginning, followed by the subject, and then an infinitive form of the verb. And finally, the question mark. In this case, in contrast with the be going to tense or the Bitcoin structure is in this case our prediction are not based on evidence. In the Bitcoin to, in this case B is the auxiliary, is are followed by going to and then an infinitive verb. And in this case we have evidence for the predictions and the plans and intention are more than 50% of certainty to happen. Okay. So the evidence here can be introduced by look, or we can also have tickets for a concert. That's the evidence that we need to have in order to use instead of will or want, be going to. The future continuous is going to be expressed with will be plus a verb in ing. And in this case, we are going to mention or is going to be used for a specific period of time in the future or actions which have already been planned. In this case, I would like to have something declare. I would like to mention something that in the future time I'll be doing. So, and as I mentioned before, we have also the present continuous for future arrangement, as I specified it before. And this case is because more than a plan or more than a prediction, we have just do all the, how can I say this, all the procedures, we have followed all the activities for a specific purpose, we have paid, we have just booked, and I don't know, more words, more verbs that introduces arrangements. And finally, we have the future perfect, and it is something that that it will be completed a specific time in the future. We have to mention this time expression, or we have to mention the condition to make something happen. And in this case, the auxiliary is will, but as it is called a perfect tense, we have to introduce, or we have to use have or have only have for all the subjects or nouns, and then a past participle form of the verbs. And as I told you, I need to make this a video shorter. I hope this time I could upload it to the link that I would like to share with you. So thank you so much, teacher. I introduced the bibliography at the end. Meditation of avoiding plagiarism. Thank you so much. My name was Victor Manuel Pedraza Contreras.